Yes, it is I. I'm sporting a new look. Last time I was here was Christmas, so some time has passed. So a very belated Happy New Year. Much has happened, apart from the new look, some enhancements. I don't know if it will stay, just trying it out. I would have liked to have been able to draw my own avatar, but I'm not as skillful. So anyway, this is going to be an interesting stream. I have notes. They're a bit disorganized, so I won't be able to follow the chat very well. I'll say hi to whoever's here at the moment, and if anyone else comes in, I apologize if I don't shout you out. So Dak, JR, D-Man, Freebird, GM, pleasure that you're all here. Thank you very much, and I appreciate your time. Where to begin? I suppose, where have I been? Well, the headache that was leading up to Christmas of this kerfuffle put me, I don't know, off. I wasn't liking what I was seeing. And during my break to recuperate from the traumatizing events of what I was seeing, the dismay, some other things were happening just to compound matters. So, as a little sort of tidbit side note, I had a birthday, and within the week following that birthday, I had a medical emergency, and the emergency status has been resolved for now, but I'm not out of the woods just yet. It has impacted my daily life proceeding. I will not know for a fair duration if things are going to get any better or if things will get worse. But do not fret or be alarmed. I'm okay. The kid is growing and is also going through her own developmental issues. So it's been a little tense and stressful in my personal life. So this break I've had from being online sort of worked out. Well, I would have needed to take a break anyway. It would have looked like. So Angler's walked in. So hey Angler and hey Outlaw. But when you have a scare like that, it can affect your patience. It can help put things into a bit of perspective. And there's going to be a few buzzwords thrown into this conversation tonight that I want people to remember and to consider, because it seems as part of self-awareness, it is also easily forgotten. And then you just find yourself in a pickle where we are today. And then you're wondering, you're scratching your head, what to do? How are we going to fix all of this? So, along with me not being active, some people may have noticed I don't really appear on streams anymore. I'm not really leaving any comments. But I'm also trying to not get bogged down with trivial. I know to you, it might not seem like trivial, but as we discuss with a bit of perspective, maybe you'll understand why I say trivial. MGTOW Mindset, good to see you as well, sir. So let's take this back. Memory lane. How did we get here, where we are today? Now, maybe this goes back even further than where I'm going to be taking it off from, but the significant cornerstone, from what I can tell, originates from a false allegation. It was actually an accusation, but that makes it worse, being an accusation. But to spare some credibility, we'll reframe that as an allegation, because that is what it is. Get it right, dear accuser. So from what should have been a pretty simple palaver, things have escalated dramatically, out of control. And I am appalled. I thought this is supposed to be rational, critically minded people who are responsive instead of acting reactively, instinctually, reflex, without much consideration for consequence, and hence why the title of this stream is Actions Have Consequences. By doing this stream, I am aware of the consequences that will follow. Hopefully there'll be good consequences. And the more matured-minded of you would be also aware of the consequences of unknown factors, which I don't think people even bother to think about, because sometimes I will use the phrase backfire. Too eager and driven by this desire, and in this case, often it's in the form of rage and wanting to fight, that you're not thinking of the fallout or those who will incur damages due to your folly, to those who are participating. But going back to this incident of the false accusation, I did step forward trying to put a bit of an emphasis on how I wanted concrete evidence before I would just believe hearsay. I am yet to receive any evidence. I'm yet to see any proof. As far as I'm concerned, it is still it is a false accusation as far as it stands. It has not been proven. No one has been arrested. And so far as much as even the accuser doesn't seem to be all that bothered or interested in wanting to pursue it any further, even though they wanted the recognition and declared that they will be responsible and spearheading, which is unfortunate for that person, because their enthusiasm to want to be the champion comes with a consequence. That being, well, unfortunately, that means this big mess, kind of where does the bucket stop or whatever, past the bucket, it kind of ends with that person. It didn't have to be that case. At the time when I confronted and had an exchange, I offered an easy way out, which was to simply say, hey, just consider that you might be mistaken, that maybe you were puppeted, maybe you were fed some dubious evidence and it hasn't been checked or verified. But they were sure and they were willing to say that this is, state it as fact. So, okay, you want it, you got it. So this is your responsibility. You said you'd be responsible, so this is essentially all your fault. It didn't have to be. And now it's a tricky. I mean, I wouldn't want to be in that situation myself, so I kind of sympathize a little bit. You kind of dug yourself a bit of a hole, if I'm honest. Because now, if you were to retract, you would have a lot more to answer for than just a simple retraction of saying, "Oops, I made a boo-boo." There's a long list of apologies you would have to make, not just to the person you accused, but to the community that you've misled, to the increase in emotional turmoil, the heated exchange we had, for example, but I require no apology, nor would I believe it would be genuine anyway. To be honest, a retraction at this stage is meaningless. You would have to admit that you were being a bit of a donut. You would have to admit that you let your emotions run away with you. And you want to know what's sickening? This is a shared sickening, is that the reason why people didn't want to really fact check or use any discernment and they just went gung-ho is because a lot of you wanted it to be true. That's why bias, and you filter out reality or any decency because you wanted it to be true. And the sickening part is that simultaneously what you're saying or what you're doing there is you'll want, because this accusation is about pedophilia. So you're wanting children to be abused so that you can go after someone. Really? If you were a moral person, you would be praying that it wasn't true. You would be in disbelief. But I didn't see any hesitation. You were salivating at the idea of getting the air quote bad guy. Oblivious to the realization that would infer that you are wanting there to be victims. And here you are saying you want to help save men, help protect children, when you're wanting children to be abused. So I find that quite sickening. Okay, let's move on. So all of that false accusation incident, which should have been pretty much a open shut case, started to get, well, people jumping on the bandwagon, gatekeeping, whose side are you on? Another disappointing. And that was my involvement was just with that allegation. But then I see people wanting to verify and check on me. Whose side are you on? Not too sure what to do with me. Manhandling me to some extent. And I didn't appreciate that. And I can understand why you might be doing that sort of thing. But that is already an indication of where things are going, the mentality behind it, this tribalism kicking off. So although I may have my opinions on gatekeeping, and I even did do a stream about gatekeeping, it's not my fight. I don't care what other people do with their gatekeeping. It's their responsibility. Same with things like, suddenly now we're talking about manifestos. Well, not we, I mean, you lot are. And getting nitpicky, the origin of MGTOW, and who is who, and what is what, and what are these stipulations. I haven't bothered to read the manifesto, but I gather some of the points raised were instilling masculinity in men and instilling femininity in women. And I left a comment that covered this idea of instilling femininity is not really possible for a man. Those who know, I am a single dad with a daughter. I cannot turn her into a feminine woman. I am not a mum. I can try to replicate or mimic or substitute, but it is not quite, it's not organically or genuinely possible for me to instill femininity in a woman, even if they are my own child. However, as a little sort of tangent, there is a kind of how can we put this? What a man can do for a woman is to help her, to allow her to bring her femininity to the fore, and vice versa. And I'll give a sort of context, I suppose. If we go back to Unga Bunga days in the cave, this idea that women are naturally nurturing and caring and soft and kind and loving and compassionate and butter that melts in your mouth sort of thing is a slight misconception, I believe. She is only like that because she is looking after the children of her male provider. She doesn't need to be like that necessarily. So I don't think it is necessarily a natural instinct or inclination of a woman to be like that. And obviously you will know stories of crazy women who have done horrendous crimes. So where was the natural state of nurturing there? It is not present. Maybe there's a genetic component to it, but you know, if we're back in the cave, Unga Bunga days, it's in her interest to be nurturing and caring in order to look after the children. Like so the man, although he doesn't teach the femininity in a woman, he can help bring out the femininity that is within her. So she chooses to become more feminine. She sort of self-teaches, and he helps to guide. He's not responsible for it. It is her effort, but he can help to assist, and vice versa. A man, his sort of characteristics, his masculinity is brought out of him when there are women. She helps to bring out, because he becomes a protector, he becomes a provider, hunter, and it's in his interest to become more masculinized. And another indicator as to why this may be the case is because when there is the opposite gender is missing, you see that person try to fill in the gap. So when there is a man and there is no woman around, it's not so hard, or it could be he has to be a bit careful that he doesn't fill in the gap and start to turn himself into a woman. In terms of, his psychology, he becomes emasculated, he becomes more feminized, because there's no need for him to use his masculinity. And likewise, when you have a woman and there is no man around, she has to become a bit more dominant, and she becomes more masculine to fill in the missing gap. So a duality takes place within a singular person. Chris, I see you're here. Good evening, sir. Shinobi One, good to see you here too as well, sir. JR, did I shout you out? JR, I'm pretty sure I did. You were here earlier. Singletown Bachelor, good to see you. Sotanar, good to see you, sir. Iridium Kush, good to see you, sir. And if I missed anyone, I apologize. Let us continue, because I'm already getting sidetracked with this gender thing, with this manifesto. Essentially, I don't really want to be covering this as a topic right now, but essentially, it's, if we zoom out, what is this instilling thing in masculinity, instilling femininity? It's just about instilling self-esteem, self-identity, self-worth, self-respect, all that kind of good stuff. So instilling maturity, instilling growth, and helping either man or woman. I don't see why really it needs to be, this manifesto is singling out the two genders. It's about raising kids. It's about turning children into adolescents, into adults, right? And then there's things about, in this manifesto, of promo t-shirts, cups, flying saucers, or whatever it is, stickers. Like, it's, I don't really care, and I don't see why this has to be such a big hoo-ha. I mean, I have never seen anyone. Now, obviously, my outdoor activities aren't that. I'm not venturing out into the wilderness, but I haven't seen anyone wear any promotional MGTOW stuff, merchandise stuff. So I don't know what the numbers are that are being sold on t-shirts, but like, geez, try not to get bent out of shape of it. It's not like, I don't think millions are being sold. And the argument being is like, oh, but they're grifting out of men. Well, it's people's money. They could do whatever they want with it. They want to buy booze, they can buy booze. They want to buy lottery tickets, they can buy lottery tickets. They want to buy a t-shirt, they can buy a t-shirt. They want to buy a book, they can buy a book. I'm trying to write a book. It's taken me a long time, and you bet you I will be charging for that book, because I ain't going to bust my ass just to give it away for free, and then be accused, oh, you're grifting. And as a comparison, I mean, personally, like, those who know, I'm familiar with narcissistic communities and stuff and such, empaths and things like that, and they have their little, well, certain people will have their merchandise, buy the Survivor t-shirt, buy the Survivor mug, and it's kind of corny, but if that's what they want to do, that's what they want to do. And actions have consequences, so go for it. See what kind of experience you get. I know that when I see someone with a Survivor t-shirt, if I get past the cringing factor, or they go around like with an empath label, that tells me a lot more than what is actually printed or what is being said. So I hope the connotation of MGTOW is a positive one, instead of maybe making people's eyes roll. But hey, you do you. I don't have a problem with it. And so the manifesto, that's generally all I know of the manifesto. I hear there's some other kind of bits and pieces, but I'm not really, the argument being that, men, we don't need this. And it's a yes-no answer. Yes, you shouldn't really need this. Really, you should have been raised correctly. Then you wouldn't need it. But some people haven't, and they need it. And we see manifestos or similar guides to life, like Jordan Peterson has the 12 rules for life or something like that. Is that a manifesto? Fight Club has a manifesto. First rule of Fight Club, second rule. So I see this as an attempt. Maybe it went about it in the wrong sort of way, because of these sort of triggering words such as instilling. Sounds like programming. Sounds like you will be indoctrinated, or you will be conditioned, you will be controlled. So perhaps what's the term? The editor maybe should have used different words instead of instilling. Instead, maybe use the word teaching or inspire, something a bit softer or whatever. So maybe went about it in the wrong way, but I think the intention is that to leave some kind of, like going back to what I was saying earlier, a medical emergency. We don't know how much time we have left. And my whole channel originated and still does for my daughter, so that should anything happen to me, there is something for her to help guide her when I am gone. And maybe the manifesto in some ways is trying to do something like that. But maybe it is nefarious, you know? But the black and white thinking way of looking at things is not very helpful or healthy. Every pro can be turned into a con or abused, and everything negative there is a silver lining. Depends how you want to see it, depends how you want to treat it or use it. So if you want to look at the manifesto as some sort of evil thing, go for, that's what you're looking for. It goes back to that false accusation. You want it to be that, so that you believe what you want to believe, so you will see it as evil if that is what you've chosen. Or if you want to see it as something maybe helpful and productive, that also. Ideally, you want to see the middle ground. You want to see where it is beneficial, and you also want to see where all this could lead to trouble if we do not be mindful of how it could be exploited. And this is why there is another division in things like or debates and heated exchanges with, like, should we have gatekeeping or not? Is it good or is it bad? Well, the answer is yes and no. There are good things and there are bad things. But what I'm seeing is people taking terminology and bastardizing it, or more precisely abusing exploitation. They're using it as a way, as a leverage for a ulterior gain. So for example, free speech, we should have free speech. Sounds great. Oh, I'm so open, I'm so acceptable, I'm so agreeable. This is social currency. Yes, but it doesn't give you permission to run your mouth and talk shit. My kid's school is recently doing Mental Health Week, and their slogan of the week is "Your voice matters." Yes, it does, but no, it doesn't at the same time. Think before you speak. Isn't that an old-fashioned saying? Be more considerate with your words instead of just spouting verbal diarrhea, saying that you must listen to me because my rights, my freedom of speech, and I'm allowed to just run my mouth without any consideration for the responsibility of the words I say. You never know. Words can be painful. And then someone will say, but I'm not obligated to care about what you think. That might be true, but that doesn't mean what you say and do doesn't affect how people feel. You, after all, want people to be considerate of your feelings. You want them to treat you with respect, but you don't want to treat them with any respect. So there's much double standards taking place. I haven't even looked at my notes yet. So we might be here. I thought this might be a short stream. We might be here for a while. So I hope you're comfortable. Red Pill in the Wind. Good to see you, sir. Let me share something. Speaking of schools and what came Mental Health Week, let me share something. Hopefully you can read this. Dear parent, I got this as an email. Dear parent, carer. And I've done some editing, obviously. So it has come to our attention that there has been some unkindness between children, but I put the word MGTOW children, happening on WhatsApp, or maybe in this case, streams. Please ensure your child or MGTOW child is supervised when they are using mobile phones, or in this case, maybe keyboards and microphones, and that you regularly check their conversations, including any archived, and I put Discord groups, or whatever groups, whatever factions you people are members of. It has been reported to us that a lot of the unkindness happens when children are on group calls or on streams. I'm sure a lot of us are seeing where this is parallel. To remind you, the age rating for the use of WhatsApp or Manosphere is 16. So I hope all of you are, I'm pretty sure all of you are over 16, but sometimes I wonder. So none of our MGTOW children should be using it. If you have decided to allow them to use this application, it is important MGTOW children are being closely monitored or maybe gatekept for their own safety. Right. A danger to yourselves or unto yourselves. When MGTOW children are unkind online, they are often bringing this into Manosphere School, and it is causing a lot of issues in the Discord playground. Please talk to your MGTOW children about being kind and ensuring they are using words which will not cause harm and offense. If they need support when in Manosphere School, they know to go to a trusted adult as their teacher or teaching assistant. I know that's a bit mean to make the comparison, but help me out here. And as a parent, and particularly a single dad, there's, and I'm pretty sure there's many single parents, even if they're a single mother, will understand that you have to put a little extra, or you feel a bit maybe not guilted, but pressured to be maybe a bit more authoritarian or disciplinarian, because you've got no one else to fall back on. And so I'm pretty sure I'm kind of harsh to my kid. And the riffraff, I can't really afford the luxury to entertain. So when I see children squabbling, I kind of just want to say, I don't care who's right or wrong anymore. No more ice cream. No more TV for any of you. And to the children, they think it's severe. They think their problems are life-threatening or it's the end of the world, And I'm sure a lot of you, that's why a lot of you are getting so upset about T-shirts and merchandise, because you think, oh my God, this is going to end up opening the portal to hell and the demons are going to come out. It's like, Jesus, get a grip. So let me remove that. I don't think we need to have it there as a reminder of our embarrassment. How far have we gone, really? How do we get here? And all sorts of people are jumping in, bringing in their own issues, and nothing can get sorted out. Because as you try to sort out one issue, maybe a false accusation, the goalpost shifts. Now we're trying to deal with gatekeeping. Now we're trying to deal with the issue of trans. Now we're trying to deal with the issue of who's on what side or who said what. Now there was, before that, there was the issue of wrenches. And I'm going to be coming back to this wrench thing in a little while. Oh, right. So Dak even says, yeah, Dak says a couple of funny things. So if you have a little blue wrench, are you not a gatekeeper? Well, yes, of sorts. Yes. But gatekeeping is another way of saying boundaries. So where are we drawing the boundary? Is it in terms of this live stream here? Some people are wrenches in one place but not another. So how far do your boundaries extend? Are you talking about the boundaries of the community? And in what way do you enforce such things? I mean, in a live stream with blue wrenches, yeah, you can block someone, you can time them out, but how do you blue wrench someone out of an entire community? You know, I like to bring things back to your self-responsibility, your own accountability. Where is the gatekeeping of yourself? Where is your self-control? Where is your self-restraint? Can you learn to shut your mouth? Maybe some things are better not said. Doesn't mean it's not true, but sometimes you need to like pick your battles and know when to shutty. Maybe, dare I say it, even apologize, even though you know you shouldn't have to, just because you know the ramifications. One of you gentlemen, I apologized when not needed, and I offered to sort of play what do you want me to do to make you happy? How can I make you happy? You know, have I offended you? Turns out, no, I hadn't. But I knew it's better, for the sake of peace and decorum, to just be like, look, okay, we managed to resolve it in a gentlemanly fashion, and for that I'm grateful. Whatever. Not everything needs to be a competition or a victory, a battle that you must win, and I will not give an inch because I have so much shame that I will not be able to live with myself if I had said sorry. And then Dak also says 16 is too young. Yes. And this is why there is a lot of work. We haven't even begun. From what I see, we're not taking any steps. We're taking steps backwards. Things were already challenging before. The way things are, it's run amok. So, the age thing. Why do we have an age? What is it supposed to symbolize? It's supposed to symbolize a point at which one can become responsible. Are people being responsible? No. What they're doing is outsourcing that responsibility onto other people. Be honest. Black pill time. That's what's going on. And yes, bigger things to worry about than merch. And I am talking, if I were to really remove my filter, I would be dropping you all into the abyss of self-discovery. You would be in the process of being atomized. And you would be having an existential crisis on the verge of breakdown. That's the level of work. You want to be free men. You want to have independence. Psychologically speaking, you must die so that you could be reborn. Are you prepared to die? So yes, there is serious work that needs to be done. And simultaneously, I know to not have high expectations. I know that the percentage rate of air quote recovery, air quote healing, and all this sort of hippy dippy stuff is fractions of percentage. You'll be lucky. And that's another black pill for you, where this isn't really about saving lives. This is about minimizing losses, because not everyone is going to make it. And from what I'm seeing, things like fear is so great. It's a powerful emotion. And I appreciate it. I know it's hard. You wouldn't want to do it unless you were forced to. That's why you became red-pilled, isn't it? Because there was no other way. If you could have stayed in your blue-pilled fantasy, you would have done. I certainly would have. I tried. I had no choice. So I'm not blaming anyone for that. It's a natural reaction, preservation. And that's another sort of familiar word people should be accustomed to here. That is what MGTOW is about, largely about self-preservation, which is why I've made this comparison numerous times of how similar it is to narcissistic communities, strikingly similar. So much so that if there were to be hope, you must be prepared to let go of the things you hold so dear, even things such as the idea of MGTOW. This is a paradox. It's like the desire or not wanting to the desire. Because holding MGTOW up like some sort of trophy or some kind of magic wand or something like that, even like the idea of the red pill, as it's the cheat code to life. I mean, why are you trying to cheat life? As if it's the solution, the cure. You attach your identity to it. You're going to run into some problems, some limitations. What happens when it's gone? Who are you then? And what has taken place, just like how in the narcissistic community environment, many quickly stumble upon the word empath, and bam, I'm a monk. I'm a Sigma monk. Same thing. What does this mean? It means it's nothing special. I know that's going to hurt. What do you mean it's nothing special? It's nothing special because you as a man are what's special. Have you forgotten? Where have you placed your self-esteem? It's not in you. It's in an acronym. And that's why people get so upset with defining what is the definition of MGTOW? What is the definition of red pill? What is the... You're splitting hairs. Why? Because because if someone defines it not how you want it defined, it means that your sense of self is not there. You externalize your sense of self. And this is why you get offended when someone tries to redefine it or tampers with it, because you're not in control of who you are. You're at the mercy of someone else's definition. Now, I'm not denouncing MGTOW. I'm not saying it's meaningless. But to have a full appreciation of what it really, as I see it, as it is, we're not there to grasp those concepts yet. There needs to be a container of yourself before you'll be able to understand what it really is. So you need some self-awareness. You need some self-esteem. More than what we're seeing right now. And what tells me this is the way in which people are fighting. Why is everyone fighting? Is it really because of what they say it is? to make this a little shortcut here, the reason why you're fighting, large part, is because you're expecting someone else to be responsible for your self-care, to make you happy. You want them to submit so that you can feel better about yourself. You want them to, I say want. I'll use the word demand. You demand they retract. You demand they say sorry. You demand that they come to your channel to debate you. You demand to have a court. You demand to see receipts. There's a long list of demands being made, like what children do. And these demands comes with entitlement. And why do the young make such demands? Because they are too young to be able to look after themselves, to fulfill their own needs. They require other people to do it for them. That's what the false allegation was about, wasn't it? Make someone a victim so that the accuser can stand proudly as the morally superior person, so that they can control other people, give them a sense of power, control and power, inflate the ego, feels good, like a drug rush, addiction. Many, many layers and components, and then we wonder why things are such a mess. And we're wondering how can we fix things. And how do we go about, how can we fix things? We look at trying to, air quote, fix other people, because we cannot fix ourselves. That is why there is such recruiting on multiple levels, on an emotional need level, a loyalty based. Bro, don't leave me. Don't abandon me. What will I do without you? I don't want to be ostracized. I don't want to be alone. Because the hard part isn't really the fighting. The hard part is not fighting. That's why you can't say no. That's why you can't stop. Because that would mean you're now stuck with having to deal with your own issues without someone to help you. That's why you fight. To escape being you. I thought the philosophy is about self-work, introspection. I don't see many people knuckling down. You want to roast. You want to troll. You want to give some feeble excuses. I know it's painful. I know you don't want to admit it. I know it's uncomfortable. And it's for those reasons why those of you who are brave enough, who cannot lie to themselves convincingly enough, will understand these black pills. I will have a stream. This is it was planned many months ago, about what these pills really mean. But I won't get into it tonight. Johnny Midnight, good to see you, sir. Pseudoscientist, good to see you as well, sir. Let me just glance at the comments. So as we're talking about demands, and wait, before I carry on about the demands, this idea of fixing people. You know what that is reminiscence of? Borderline, BPD. If I just love him enough, I can fix him. He will change. If I get into a relationship, you know. Now, obviously, I'm not talking about a romantic relationship, but in this case, a kind of brotherhood type of relationship. If I can create bonds through stress and trauma, we'll be closer. Then we can fix one another. And there are other signs of borderline taking place. These rage outbursts, unstable, emotional ups and downs. You know, there have been people who will remark about narcissistic members in the community. But some sources say that statistically, you know, really, you're more likely looking at borderline types of people. Why would somewhere like MGTOW be exempt? I have a stream planned about narcissists are everywhere. So there is, and it goes back. The red pill doesn't give you immunity. There's not some sort of, I don't care what gatekeeping boundaries you have. It is not impenetrable. But there is no allocation. It's almost like a taboo. We'll just pretend that these things won't be an issue. A denial. Because the truth is uncomfortable. Now, granted, PTSD may appear like borderline. Bipolar may appear like borderline. Autism might appear like, well, not really borderline, more like narcissism. But still, there are mimicry, other ailments that can give you the same sort of effect. It almost doesn't really matter what you call it. You know, have you not forgotten that people come from all walks of life? Men come from all walks of life. Some are young, some are old, some have disabilities, some have relationships, some have children. And there's this kind of universal mantra that's supposed to fix everyone. So you're forgetting about people as individuals. You're not even showing one another respect in that regard. There isn't really an understanding of compassion. You want to know who the best mentors are? You want to know who the best mentors are? They're kids. Now, it shouldn't be that way. Kids shouldn't be teaching you how to parent, really. But they will teach you how to teach. Just like I was saying before about the man helps to bring out the femininity of a woman and the vice versa. The children will help the parent, if the parent is responsible and decent enough, to shape up. You know, it doesn't mean you treat people like children, obviously, but what it does say is that when you have kids, you have to learn to be more considerate, to see them for who they are. See them from their point of view, that they are not you. We can't be treating other men as if they are us. That's not fair. That's not right. That's stepping over your boundaries. This expectation, a demand that I will not accept you unless you do as I say, unless you fit in with my criteria. Because how you define yourself as a man affects how I define myself as a man. Because my boundaries are so poor and meshed that I cannot distinguish myself from other people. I haven't got enough stoicism of my own to stand on my own 2 feet. That if I'm seen next to you, I'm guilty by association. And that's a double-edged thing, because one, obviously that's not fair that you're being treated in such a way. But you do yourself a disservice if you allow such a thing to matter to you, what other people think because you're friends with someone else. This was a mistake I felt the victim of the false allegation made. Obviously, it's a serious allegation. And there can be ramifications, obviously. A witch hunt, I'm sure, has ended in some people's lives being taken. Either at the hands of the mob or by suicide or incarceration or something. But there's a level of victims' responsibility of going from how to respond versus the reactive. So lashing back in anger with an attack, in brackets, as a defense, a retaliation. Well, you know what happened to Will Smith, right? So he doesn't gain any sympathy afterwards because the victim has entered and allowed a transaction to take place, this entanglement, this confrontation. No contact is hard to do. And it starts not with saying no to the other party. It starts with saying no to yourself, fighting the urge. But I don't blame the victim for doing such a thing. It's a very common mistake and difficult one to circumvent. But that crack in the door opens wider. And here we are, months later, throwing the baby out with the bathwater, not making any progress, causing further embarrassment. And there is a responsibility to those involved, because during all of this time, those guys who are on the fence, so to speak, the middlemen, or who have come to such a place not for the drama sphere, but they came looking for help, and instead they were neglected because this civil war is far more important. They were left out. Not as in like they were left out of the fun of having a fight with one another, but I mean, they were neglected. These guys came in search for support, help, understanding, acceptance, and the message they're receiving is get ready for battle. They're trying to get away from conflict. They've got nowhere else to go to. They come for salvation, and this is where they end up. Not good. So those guys were let down. Some of them have spoken to me, telling me how much stress, or how much they're in distress how exhausted they are. Yeah. And they don't want to abandon, so they feel pressured to take a side. And this idea that you don't get the right to choose to be a middleman or to sit on the fence. You're guilty by association. That's not very nice. And logically, it's not a good argument to make. Just because you don't side with someone doesn't mean you're complicit. Just because, for example, in my case, like just because I was defending a false allegation, I have some stupid troll wanting to say I'm a supporter of pedophiles. Absurd. So I don't take that seriously. You know. And the mistake I would have made is if I did, and I got bent out of shape, and ran a campaign to defend myself against such a nonsense. But these men that are neglected, and why is it they're neglected? Because those fighting are acting selfishly and forgetting about their fellow brethren. Now, psychologically speaking, this is understandable because tribalism and survival instincts are taken over. So logic goes out the window. Critical thinking, perspective goes out the window. Self-awareness out the window. We already mentioned it. You know, these people are just reacting. They're recruiting. They're arming up. Arms race. Quick, let's dig out the dirt. Let's get some spies in there. Let's formulate a plan of action or something. You know, we're gonna take them down, and it's crazy. Ever watch that movie Lord of the Flies? But I think in this case, it's more like Nelson from The Simpsons, a bully, causing everyone else to turn into Milhouse. So it makes the whole place look pathetic. I mean, it's so silly where you got some people calling it fagtal. You're making a mockery of your own acronym because you think it's funny. That's how absurd it is. And this idea of the enemy of my enemy is my friend, by the way. No, they're not your friend. No, what you have is an alliance based on utility. So I think we need to be a bit careful of the silly little sentimental lies we tell one another without pausing for thought. I don't know why people are such in a rush. Because the ego says there's an urgency, that's why. But speaking of this suicide thing and the borderline, let me throw. Now, I'm not really one for stats, but I got one for you. So if we can accept that we may have, not may, we do have, we have people from all cognitive abilities and levels and such. So we have some borderlines. 10% die by suicide. They go through with it. So we got 10. How many people are in the chat right now? Let me see. Where's the streamer? We have 17 watching. But just take 100. Take 100 guys. How many of those would be borderline? Of that, 10% will go through with suicide. 73% will have at least attempted it 3 times in their lifetime. So these are 3 cries for help in their lifetime. Now, I'm sure some of you will talk about the distress of suicide numbers, but you seem to blame it as if it's all on the system. I'm not saying it's not, but you totally overlook, given what we're seeing, given what I'm mentioning about the emotions, about the you commit one sin and you go from being the best buddy angels with wings to now you're the devil and I want you to die. You know, you make one boo-boo, right, you are the worst of the worst. Black and white thinking. So it's not, in those cases of the borderline, it's not problems with the system working against them, but their own mental health and well-being. These are internal problems. People talk about their pain, their loneliness, emptiness. These are borderline phrases. Now, obviously, it doesn't mean you don't take their suicidal cries for help. You don't take them seriously. I mean, obviously, you still have to. But it's what the point I'm making is to have a bit more of a perspective that there are other things at play than just the system or women or whatever group over there. It's a lot of finger pointing, if you notice. Not once, I don't think, have I heard someone say, shit, I'm a bit messed up here. You know? We want everyone else to be accountable for our well-being. All right. Think about it. Thank you for being here. You went by another name. I know your face and voice and great channel. I'm just trying to remember what your other name was. But yeah, I hope you're doing great. So, right, I've had my notes sitting by my side and I haven't looked at any of it. We might have to come back for a part 2. Oh no. So my notes is telling me, and this talks about the children a bit more, about them being the best teachers, the best mentors, because the children teach you what matters. You know, the importance of structure. You have to model good behavior. You have to think of other people beside yourself instead of this kind of, I mean, to me, that's a sign of masculinity, the ability to be so well put together that you can help to look after other people. But those who like to shame will say, oh, that's you being a cuck or you being a simp. It's like, no, it's me being a decent person. that's how we kind of, evolutionarily speaking, managed to get by as a society. You do need, I know you want to be all Mr. Independent and everything. I don't need no one crap. I don't need external validation. Wrong. You're BSing me. Cognitive function stacks 1 to 4. You'll have one function that is introverted, one extroverted. That extroverted function is where you get your validation from. Now, be it logically based, be it feelings based. But there is some validation. If you had no validation, no way of calibrating yourself, then you would be a mess. So you're trying to convey, what are you doing then when you say, I don't need any validation? You're trying to con me with an appearance as if you're so like uber duper self-sustaining. If you didn't have someone to say, yes, you are acting sane today, or, oh, I don't approve of that, that's a bit crazy, you wouldn't know right from wrong. You would have no gauge, no contrast, nothing to bounce off. So we all need validation, external, in different ways. It's okay. It's all right. You know, like it's okay to have feelings. Oh, I don't have feelings, me. I think logically. You know, it's like, ugh. These are the kind of lies we tell ourselves. And you know who, if you think I'm making you feel stupid right now, going back to the kids will make you really feel stupid. The kids will notice how much of a goof you are. So nothing will make you self-reflect more than when you have kids. Provided you're actually, you have some sort of good character. Provided you want to be a parent. You know, your children will bring out your insecurities. And they will remind you of your regrets and the mistakes you've made. And the kids will push your buttons. They will trigger you. And they will bring out the monster. And in your weakness, maybe you might punish them or ignore them. Or you give them the evil eye. Those are the tests of life. Those are the tests of integrity and composure. And in terms of communication, if you cannot explain it in a way that a child could understand, then you have failed to see that person for who they are, or in this case, a child for who they are. And it's this sort of, I mean, maybe this makes it a little bit easier for me, because I was being a parent, like to have this attitude of like, I don't really care anymore who said what or who did what. You're all basically guilty at this point. You're all sharing the burden of responsibility, because people who need help on the fence, they're being ignored and neglected, and they are being put through stress that you've imparted on them. You've put weight on their shoulders, and they're not even at a position where they can even they might be newcomers, or you know, they don't know what to do. It's like, here, you look after the baby, and you just dump it in their hands. I'm off. You know? It's like, it's not even my baby. And this is a reflection of that level of selfishness, because you're so self-absorbed that you're losing control, that you've forgotten what it is to relate. You're too preoccupied with whatever it is you got your eye on, that you've forgotten about the ramifications, the knock-on effect, the fallout, the backfire. Yeah. And if you want to know when you're powerless, it doesn't matter how much macho bravado you have, nothing will make you feel more powerless than when you see your kid frustrated or having a meltdown or crying. You know? Or when their brains have gone frazzled and they're having a hair wire or a seizure. You know, let's see where your masculinity helps you there. Now, there's going to be people who will suddenly say things like, oh, but I ain't perfect. I understand. I have insecurities. Yes, I'm human. Yes, I make mistakes. Yeah. But these are insincere. There's a willingness to show their vulnerability is rarely truly seen. You know, it sounds a lot like the kind of bad acting as well. It sounds a lot like what do they call it? Sunshine and Rainbows. The love and light community. You don't need. A father will understand this. Hopefully, a man will as well. You don't need no rewards. You know, you're just doing your job. And likewise, children or students, they don't owe you anything. So I appeal to people to be a bit more consciously aware of the kind of role models you're becoming. This strategy of trying to, I'm going to debunk, I'm going to show some receipts and debunk, ergo, therefore, I am right. No. Just because you disprove someone doesn't mean you're right. You still have that burden of proof as a responsibility to do. So this is a fallacy, and people fall for it. If you're having to justify in order to prove something as valid, then there is a failure in that work or whatever it is you are trying to prove. Your work should be able to speak for itself. It doesn't need you to champion it. That is why the truth will exist regardless of whether or not you are there or not. Truth is tied to reality. Reality will exist whether you are there or not. The world will still turn regardless. So if you are someone who is putting work in effort into that, or if you're someone who's putting effort into their work, be considerate that, try to factor in that this should be able to stand. It doesn't need me to defend it. And that's why I don't need credentials. Or anyone, really. If your work can stand on its own merits, then it doesn't need you to prop it up or defend it with your diploma or something. Obviously elaborate, explain if need be, but this attitude of like, because I said so, or I am the law, I am the authority, because my demands, I demand I get heard, I demand I am the expert. No, but get your work and prove it. Your work, not someone else's, because you're not really proving your point. Oh, the reason, by the way, going back, I said I had a medical thing going on. I'm not going to tell you what it is, because I know some people out there will start doing this sort of like, I am the authority in this medical matter. I'm going to tell you what you should be doing. It's like, whoa, no. So while all this drama stuff has been going on and people have been all hostile and wanting blood, sacrifice, this led to things like people being used as punch bags. So I ain't gonna have it. I will remove myself from the equation. I have a responsibility to my own self-care. If you got a problem with me, that's one thing, But if you want to assign me onto some mess elsewhere, no. I mean, you could do it if you want, but if you expect me to care that you've done it, no. What you've done is basically you've given me reason why I should not be interested in dealing with you. No skin of my teeth. I'll give you, okay, so case in point. You must be prepared for some losses. That's a reflection of your level of security. Are you okay with incurring loss? So in my family dynamic, not only was there a problem with the ex-spouse, but the collateral damage was me and my kid had to say goodbye to family members who are innocent. They don't know what's going on. They don't understand. Some of them are children. They had to be on the receiving end of some pain. The larger family network had been broken up. Obviously, I was blamed for this. And at the same time, I cannot explain to them exactly what's going on. But like it or not, I had to accept the position I was in, making an executive decision. Those are traits of leadership quality. It's not about virtue signaling. It's about being able to carry the guilt for making decisions that people might not understand. That's a hard one to wrap your head around. Because my daughter could easily be angry with me for what took place, blame me, and the other family members who are fed the smear campaign lies, believe I was the reason, and in some ways it's true. It is the reason of no contact was made by me. But why I made the choice for no contact is a whole nother matter. But to allow people to continue living on with a lie and accept being the scapegoat for that to take place. I don't know. Do you understand what I'm saying here? Have you seen the movie Watchmen at the end, where the truth is so difficult that sometimes it's like a necessary evil? You have to permit it. So sometimes you might have things happen where you have to allow the other person to believe what they want to believe, even if you know it's wrong. If they want to treat you like you're the bad guy, then let them. In some cases, it depends. It depends whether or not you have a stake in it, if it matters all that much to you, if you'll be all right. If you're begging and pleading your case, and then it's a sign that you're not. So I think people are, at times, I think naturally, instinctively, they realize their defense mechanism sort of kicks them in to make them aware of the company, the proximity of who they're with. Because it doesn't matter how intelligent you are. This isn't really about intelligence. These are emotional wounds. But it's I've described it as a cafeteria supply to predatory type people. So that's another element or another factor to consider. But even just the inmates among yourselves, you got to be careful of with the poor boundaries of and bad role models, picking up people's habits. And these negative things will negate anything that's positive. It's like it doesn't matter how supporting a men's community is, like helping people financially or whatever, but at the same time, they're leaving people in such a disparity that they commit suicide. It's not really conducive. So going back to the point about this false accusation, how it seemed to be under a theme of gatekeeping, under the guise of gatekeeping. No one has been gatekept. there must be blood, right? There must be a sacrifice on the altar of gatekeeping. And I did say that actions have consequences. So, seeing how no one wants to pay the toll, and maybe it's not very fair being sprung up on you that there are consequences. Oh, you mean there's consequences? No one told me about consequences. Surprise. Why not I volunteer? I will no longer participate on anybody's stream. It's already, you might have noticed, I don't do that anymore. That means there's some people who, that I frequent, and there hasn't been any issue. So if they're listening, please, this isn't you haven't done anything to offend me. It's the principle of the matter that selfishness has far-reaching tendrils. And it's going to come, well, my contribution is I will no longer partake in streams, well, particularly comment on channels, nor participate on Discord servers. I'll just be hosting whatever it is I want to say on my channel. And because I'll be pulling back from visiting other people's channels, I expect my knowledge or connection with the community to gradually fade over time. I don't want to say it'll be disconnected altogether, but I won't know the ins and outs of the drama. I will be spared. So unfortunately, it means I might lose contact with some of you, some that are friends. Maybe I'll not have as many subs, or it seems to have mysteriously stayed on 176 for quite some time. Maybe I might lose some subs, but it just shows you that someone else's personal vendetta can have unforeseen circumstances where it costs other people. And if I've been helpful, see, this is where the domino effect, what's the other one? The butterfly effect. Because if I were helpful, then I won't be able to make as many contributions as I once did in that sense. You can still reach out if you want to have a private chat with me. But I'll put it like this. I will help defend MGTOW, even if I'm not recognized as one. But I will not support the community, because it's not a choice I want to make. Rather, my hands are tied. Thanks to I mean, it doesn't have to be, but I need to, I don't have to detach or distance or something like that, but it's not like a punishment. It's a bit tricky for me to explain. But it'll be for that same sort of reason, in the same neck of the woods, that eventually I will be removing all the wrenches and maybe just keeping 5 or so. Because as I was listing out all those demand this, demand that, and demand all the rest of it, the sun, moon, and the Holy Spirit, and whatever, wrenches end up becoming a form of entitlement. So this isn't to punish people thinking that, oh no, he's taken away our wrenches, but it just shows you that grip, that reluctance of wanting to let go. If anything, it's to make you realize that there's more value to you. You know, like inflation. If you have so many wrenches, the value depreciates. Well, if there aren't as many wrenches, then you'd be more wiser to selectively use your words carefully and make it more potent and prominent and considerate. And hey, it's not forever. You can always earn your wrench back. And as it goes, I mean, I have nothing wrong with the wrenches on my channel. You've all done an excellent job here, and I appreciate your services. So we keep it pretty well on my channel compared to other people's channels, but it's the principle of the matter. You know, someone needs to sometimes do things that they don't want to have to do. Sam, you're here. Good to see you, sir. So I am aware that due to this incident of the false accusation, you know, certain people openly said they don't like me, they dislike me, and you shouldn't be surprised that people have conversations behind the stage. That's not the problem. But I come here now, whether you believe it or not, you know, I come here in good faith. I'm here as an educator. Where is my reward in all of this? A large part of that comes from the ability to be able to, like, to have the permission in a way to be able to put all this out there. And for my daughter, as I said, so I will continue to make content. I'm nowhere near finished having things to say. But where this is a bit upsetting is that knowing there have been people vouch for me in my defense, because the people who dislike me, the ones who weren't openly telling me this, you know, so they would say some negative things and people would go to my defense, and that's about as much as I know. So I can extrapolate that how many confrontations these people have gone through, how many people are involved, who are they? I don't know. But I feel responsible for that, and carry a level of guilt and shame, you know. So I would like to thank those silent heroes in a way. I don't know who you are exactly, and I don't know what kind of, you put yourself at risk doing that. You didn't have to. So I truly do appreciate that, and I wish I could thank you in a much more, personal way to express how grateful I am. There is also someone else that deserves a shout out. I don't know who this is either, but whenever I post up a stream or a community post, there's always one person, blam. They give me a thumbs up. They're very quick. I don't know who it is, and to be honest, I don't want to know. It's like a secret Santa. But whoever you are, I really appreciate that. That's it's very gracious of you. Thank you. So I'm going to try and wrap this stream up. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I would hope there were some things to consider. In the long run, I believe it will work out better if there was more honesty. What I suspect will happen is, as time has, what I suspect will happen is this ongoing civil war has, because of the optics and appearances, I think some people are going to start to not self-reflect because it's a particular desire or interest that they want to do, rather because they're starting to feel embarrassed and ashamed. Oops, so people are gonna take a step back to have the moral higher ground of maturity. This is part of the patterns of behavior. This would be known as the respite period. Doesn't mean it's over. It just means a ceasefire for now. So I don't know what's going to happen long run with that. But for those of you who are looking to get out of this conundrum, now's your opportunity. While the sentinels are sleeping, while they're reloading. But yeah, this isn't anything new. It's uncannily eerie to see it kind of playing out in a sort of textbook kind of way. We have our own bias. We like to believe that this is a unique situation that's never happened before. But no. Sometimes people touch on the truth, there's nothing special about us. There are things that make us different, and they should be celebrated and recognized, but that doesn't make us any better than anyone else. With the self-work, we'll get there. We'll get there. So I'll glance at the chat. Well, so just to clarify, maybe I wasn't too clear. So I will still be contributing in the sense of my channel, But I won't be dropping pearls of wisdom or nuggets in other people's streams or making appearances, because when I turned up, it's like, whose side are you on? So excuse me, I came here to socialize, to chinwag, to see how people are, say hey, what's up, everyone all right, checking in on people, making sure keep a company, pull a chair out, sit down at the table, and hey, have a drink or something with us. But instead, it's like, what are you doing here? Who are you? Oh, so we're in agreement, are we? It's like, whoa, what's with the Inquisition? So if that's how I'm going to be received, obviously not everyone's doing that, but it's like, okay, I don't want this animosity, so I'll just stay on my channel then, and because people don't want to be very transparent, who knows who's in the shadows kind of thing, like, so I don't need to have paranoia going on, so I'll just keep to my lonesome on my channel. You're all welcome to come over here, and so like in terms of like what I can talk about or whatever, I'll just keep it here. So I'm not denouncing the MGTOW. I'm not going to turn into a hater and be like F you guys and all this sort of stuff. No, I highly respect you. I recognize there's a lot of hurt, a lot of sensitive. To me, that's a sign of that a lot of vulnerabilities people don't want to admit to, but vulnerabilities to me can be a sign of strength if you attend to those vulnerabilities and be responsible for them. So I see a great potential for MGTOW, and I hope guys will manage to work together instead of fighting one another. Utilizing people's abilities wisely, not selfishly. That's another aspect I see sometimes a bit too often, where a lot of people want to be, air quotes, the one to save someone who is thinking suicidal thoughts. It's like, I know that's all well and good, but telling them, hey, you have so much to live for in life, or think about your kids or something like that, might not be the best thing to say to someone who's on the edge of killing themselves. I know you're trying to help them, but sometimes the best way of helping someone is to refer them to someone who might be a bit more skilled. Like, for example, don't come to me about finances. Don't ask me about historical information of the chronological order of MGTOW or facts and data. I'm not into those details. Don't ask me about feminism as a political group. My lane is cognitive and emotional thinking and behaviors. The brain. That's my that's my skill set or whatever, right? So I hope that clarifies that, Mr. Hemi. I'll probably still will be, watching a little bit of what's going on and have a general gist, but I wouldn't be surprised if I start to become out of touch. So is there any particular so if a red pill is a stepping stone, okay, so it's a question, if red pill is a stepping stone and hard times coming, Billy, you will see a purpose to stream. Am I reading that right? If red pill is a stepping stone and hard times coming, yeah, I mean, so like, this isn't just necessarily my opinion or sort of looking into a crystal ball kind of thing. this is what you see. Like, I know people don't like the comparison with the narcissistic community, but frankly, it's so close that they may as well be one and the same. You may as well, for all intents and purposes, say that MGTOW, unfortunately, I know you're not going to like me saying this, is basically a survivors group. It's the same. There is quite a long list of of similar things. You got tenants, so do they. You got a philosophy of sorts. It's not really that different to a philosophy, self-development, introspect, self-reflection, face the truth, control your emotions. Is this what we constitute as the philosophy? Do the hard work, be responsible, be accountable, take care of yourself, improve your self-esteem, self-love. Is this the philosophy as I understand it? Well, that's no different than what you hear over there. Try not to think of yourself as a unicorn because you've got a philosophy or because you call yourself MGTOW. Okay? I know it might be a little bit, he didn't just say that, but it's a good thing, trust me. Because it means really what matters is you as a person, as a man. So if Ripple is a stepping stone, a hard time to come, the hard time is that you think it's hard going for a breakup. That's when you become atomized. The hard time is putting yourself back together. So when for a lot of people, and even when they put themselves back together, it's a long road for recovery. There are relapses. And here's another food for thought, by the way, of how we seem to have things backwards over here. This logo, right? Fork in the road, yeah? I have never heard anyone say that the main straight arrow, the main part, the thicker part, is really the course. Every time, if not all, when I hear about MGTOW, it's referred to as the exit, the slip road. Is that correct? Because if you ask me, that's backwards. It's really, MGTOW should be the straight path. It's not us who have taken the alternative route to escape. That is the route of the narcissist. That is the route that society and the woke have gone. They have taken the slip road. They're the ones who have forked away. Because what's the old saying? You stay on your path. Life is a fine line kind of thing. Walk on your path. Why is it us? Why is it the MGTOW that have to take the fork in the road? It shouldn't be us run like you got men sent their own way. When I had to bust up with my ex-partner, it wasn't me that left. She left. She wanted to go batshit crazy. I'm staying on my purpose. I'm staying consistent. The stable influence in my kid's life. It wasn't me doing a detour or deviation. It wasn't me who forgot where I'm going. In a way, you could say that blue pill dream is still there. It wasn't necessarily it's made more realistic. It's society who have decided to take that fork and go off into the woods and do whatever. So men don't really need to, in a sense, go their own way. It's everyone else has gone their own way. Is we're doing what we're doing. But yeah, I'm not sure I'm understanding the point here with this comment. But Billy, you will see a purpose to stream. Yeah, there are plenty of things to stream about. I'm much more hesitant than I am impulsive. I have self-doubt. So I'm like, is that right? Is this right? Could it be done better? And there's an element of perfectionism. I'm like, I need to work on that a bit more. Does this go with that? It's really changing to a PA channel. Who knows? No, I'm gonna. I don't know. No. Not. What am I trying to change this into? Into a more reflection, introspection channel. More of a black pill channel, if anything, I suppose. A deep dive, a ball buster of a channel. An uncomfortable channel. This is a channel you come to if you want to do some work. Right? So everyone here listening, I appreciate, I appreciate you just even being here and following what I'm saying, and obviously I'm taking up a lot of time and etc. But to take on board what is being said, and if it's helpful to integrate it into your life, that is that is an honor for me. And you must be thanked and celebrated, and it must be recognized that each of these steps you take, if you find them useful and it helps you, etc., they add up to the milestones. They add up to the, like gaining credits, the experience. This is part of the exercise, brain exercise. You can't just take a red pill and be like, oh, I have superpowers now. It doesn't work like that. And after a while, you'll realize it's not really even about pills. This way of naming it, red pills, blues and blacks and things, that's childlike way of identifying things. Blue pill is basically emotional thinking. Red pill, critical thinking. Come on, use grown-up terms. Not everything is based off a movie. That is what borderlines do. So again, see more indicators of borderline. Okay, I think I'll finish on this point because I think it's a good point a good little nugget of useful. So no one understands what leave me alone means. MGTOW Outlaw says, I'll read it for most understandable. Wish more of these people understood what the F leave me alone meant. Well, you set the tone. You tell people how you want to be treated. If you want people, if you allow people to walk all over you and disrespect you, they will. So if this is what you're noticing, that people won't leave you alone, somewhere along this line, this is what you've communicated is that, hey, you can hassle me, you can pester me, and I'll play games, and you can torment me or whatever it is. You need to work out where in your communication set, is it in your verbs, is it your body language, is it in your writing, how is it you are conveying yourself to be like, where is there a communication breakdown here? So if you want people to leave you alone, you need to sort of tell them that in one way or another. And sometimes that might need a bit of repetition. So you might need to enforce. These are boundaries you're talking about. So you might need to enforce your boundaries, and your boundaries will be tested. So as long as you've got those kind of awarenesses, like, right, I might need to enforce this, say it a couple of different ways, and some people are going to try and test me. Maybe I'll have an off day, and then I'm not feeling too well or on the ball, and then that's when they're hassling me, and that's how you could tell a kind of channel from another type of channel. Like, why is it some channels have hooligans on them, some channels is all just hyenas, some channels are very cordial and respectable? This isn't by accident. You know, I'm not going to allow hyenas in my chat, so they're not going to be here. I ain't going to allow trolls in my chat. They're going to be booted out, right? But if you find yourself always having trolls, and then you're going to sit there and be all like mystified, like, oh, I don't know why I'm always getting trolls. Why do you think, Einstein? You're not putting your foot down, you know? So, so not to pick out the person who left this comment here, but what you're kind of saying when you say this is that what you're experiencing is people are disrespecting your boundaries, or that you haven't been able to assert your boundaries effectively enough. You know, you're kind of what you're hoping for through what you're saying here as a translation. You're hoping people will be able to mind read you and cater to your wishes without you having to actually put any effort in. Okay? Does that make sense? I hope so. So just put a little bit of effort in expressing what it is you want. Make sure it's clear, and understandable, respectable, and things like that. And you'll find people will respond accordingly. You know? But general kind of way of looking at it is you set the tone. You set the level of respect you're going to receive from people. You know, you don't have to lord it over them and say, "I demand you respect me." No, this is conveyed through your masculinity and other things, through your character set. So, yeah, and we're nicely at the 2-hour mark, so I think we'll end it there. Thank you all for being here. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Hope to talk to you again soon. And please, if you are involved in the civil war, just fight the urge to open your mouth. Think of the other people who aren't here for that reason. You know, don't monopolize their time with your shenanigans. Not everything needs to be on public display, because it's not just the Brotherhood that sees it, but the world at large sees it. And there you are saying you want to promote masculinity and instill whatever it is. It's all dull. Be good role models to one another, but least of all to yourself, if it's that difficult. All right, have a good night. Take care. Thank you.